Today's AskReddit post. What is most effective psychological trick you ever used? Oh boy, this is gonna be a good one. Let's get started. Owning up to my mistakes with full, if not excessive, ownership. It tends to disarm the offended. And if possible, what you are already doing to correct the mistake takes the wind right out of their sails. Giving a friend's child, Tenyo, an illusion of choice to get them to do something you want them to do. So instead of saying, put your socks on, say, do you want these socks? Or these ones? Or same for dinner, not eat your dinner. Ask, do you want peas or broccoli? They feel ownership of their choice and some control in their life. Kids in general have very little control over their lives and they need practice to make decisions. This works on adults too, surprisingly often. One of my favorite tricks I use on myself is, when I can't sleep, I just curl into the most comfy position, close my eyes, and pretend really hard that it's 6 AM and I have to get up. I don't know why, but it makes me fall asleep real quick. The best one I've learned is called mental Scrabble. For each letter of the alphabet pick to completely unrelated words. I never make it past J before falling asleep. This is the kind of thing I would do to keep my brain alert when on long trips driving alone. I've heard of this before and have tried it, but it just gives my brain a task that it needs to do, which is more important than sleep. Set expectations low and blow people's minds with my mediocrity. Underpromise, overdeliver by doing the absolute most basic stuff. I don't like when people have expectations on me, so I rarely share about myself. I know I come across as very boring, but man, I must say, being boring is liberating sometimes. I always like a underconfident person. Asking, would you be opposed to doing X? Instead of would you be willing to do X? This is in a book I read by an FBI hostage negotiator. The reason it works is people love getting to say no without bad consequences. This would be so confusing for me as a people pleaser. Do you want me to do the thing, or do you want to know if I would never do it? Help. I have harnessed the power of positive reinforcement. Instead of focusing on what is wrong, I make a conscious effort to highlight and praise the positive behaviors or traits of others. This works so well with some people. You compliment them for something you appreciate, and they just keep it coming. Great feeling for everyone involved. I grew up with a narcissist parent. Pro tip, never use positive reinforcement techniques with a narcissist. You are immediately the source of validation for the next X years if you make the mistake of doing this to a narcissist. When my kids were younger, if I thought they were lying, I would ask them to stick out their tongue. They thought I could tell from the color of their tongue whether they were lying or not. In reality, it was that they would hesitate before sticking out their tongue that told me if they were lying or not. My mom used to make us say cabbage. If we were lying, we couldn't say cabbage without laughing. But if we were telling the truth, we'd be like cabbage. I'm the youngest and about to turn 40. My brother and I still use sit on each other, and it still works. This sounds so cute, hahaha. When getting a client's background, social services, and they bring up their kids, ask to see a photo, or ask something that triggers a proud parent response. Accelerates the process of building trust. Interesting. One time my mom and I were at a bar. It was a birthday thing, and some guy obviously had too much and was trying to pick a fight with my dad. So my mom randomly asks him if he has kids, and if so, can she see pictures? Boom. You should have seen the shift from aggressive drunk to, this is my 3-year-old daughter, and I love her. Apostrophe. It was like some sort of hack. And afterwards, she said she had read it somewhere, but totally diffused his anger with parental instincts. All of these answers will be made into an AI voiced YouTube video by tomorrow. TIKTOK lol. I used this technique at university, where I couldn't stand the thought of having to answer questions in front of a group of people. So if you find yourself in a group situation where someone, a leader, tutor, manager etc. is asking questions that must be answered, and you want to avoid being picked so that you don't have to talk, then here is my tip. If the person locks eyes on you as they ask the question, then just as they are about to get to the end of their question you break eye contact and look towards another person in the room and hold it. Their attention is diverted to that other person just as the question ends and the person they are now looking at feels compelled to answer. If however the person starts asking the question while looking at someone else, then look at that other person and hold it so you can't get suckered. Use it sparingly, because if you do it enough on the same person, they will be onto you. I try to look super eager and answer the first 2 or 3 easy questions, because then they want to call on others, so it's not just the Heath as one show. Seasickness cure only works on others, won't work on yourself or anyone you tell the secret to. Tell the person experiencing seasickness they need to eat an orange or any other available random thing. Oranges or other citrus works well for the explanation. Close bracket. Explain that they cure seasickness and that's why pirates and all the other explorers used to seek them out and always made sure they had some on the ship. Now the psychology behind it is that nothing truly cures seasickness, but it is mostly caused from your mind being confused by not seeing the horizon correctly. Basically telling the person that an orange, or whatever you recommend they eat/drink causes them to experience the placebo effect and their brain believes the problem just went away. Used this successfully 5 or 6 times with complete strangers, and also on my wife. When we got back from our latest excursion my wife was the one to repeat it to someone else. Still works for her too. Not sure how well it actually works, but one good one is saying thank you instead of sorry. Like thank you for waiting instead of sorry for being late. It draws attention away from the negative. I do this too. I think it does help. If you say, sorry for being late, their emotional reaction is, yes, you were late and you owe me. But if you say, thank you for your patience, their reaction is, yes, I'm a good person for waiting patiently. They feel positively about themselves rather than negatively about you. Actually this one came in my mind. To avoid workplace drama and be well liked is to just compliment people behind their back. Yeah. Anytime someone starts talking poop about another person, I either just smile and stay quiet or point out something good about that person. If the poop talker is just pointing out a minor annoyance and venting, I don't have a single coworker who actively dislikes me nor one who I can't at least peacefully tolerate. Some people get so worked up over something another person failed to do that it costs them more energy and grief than just accepting it and doing the task right. Not a trick per se, but realizing that I'm not my thoughts. I learned this from Schitt's Creek. People aren't thinking about you the way you're thinking about you. I had a college class that was about giving presentations in a professional environment. Still don't like public speaking very much, but after realizing how nobody gave a poop in that class, sitting in the back and watching most the other people playing games or doing other class homework, I realized either nobody gives a poop, the people who do give a poop aren't assholes, and anyone forced to be stuck in front of you giving a presentation are either uninterested entirely or interested. The only way to duck up is to disappoint the small handful paying attention. When someone is yelling at you in public, I always remain calm and non-expressive. Not giving them the reaction they want and escalating makes them feel/look goofy. I tell my husband when my teacup is full. This is how I imagine my ability to regulate my emotions and how likely I'm to snap at someone. I'll say stuff like, my teacup is almost full, but I'll do my best. When I'm overwhelmed I can say my cup is full and he immediately understands what I mean and what that means for a while. We use this with our daughter to some success, where she can at least identify when she's getting overwhelmed before it hits the peak. Then we move into how we can best empty our cup in a way that's not overwhelming and doesn't make others feel bad. After all, screaming might empty our cups quickly, but we are just pouring that energy into someone else's cup. The best part is that, because I've used this pretty consistently, I have a better feel for how much emotional bandwidth I have at that moment and can be honest with friends and coworkers. I really want to hear this story, but I don't have much room in my cup. Give me 5 minutes. to take a quick break, and when I come back I'm all ears. It's been great, and I feel like my relationships have gotten better. When upset callers would rant and start to curse and yell, I'd interrupt with, "Wow, I'm really sorry that you feel you have to talk to me this way in order for me to help you. You don't. But I understand. I'll let you talk, and then I'm going to help you. I'm sorry I interrupted you. You were saying?" They would either apologize, chance their tone, or hang up. I was fine with either one. That's actually pretty good. It disarms them and corrects them at the same time. Telling people thank you for letting me know when they are critical or giving unsolicited advice totally throws them off. When I used to babysit my niece and nephew, I used to act all excited and tell them that there was officially no bedtime and that we were going to stay up all night watching TV and playing games. Without fail, they would fall asleep on the couch at their exact bedtime. This 100% does not work on my 6-year-old. I've tried when her dad was out of town. She ended up watching Bridgerton with me at midnight before finally passing out. Offering food the dog won't eat to the cat. Dog eats food. When my younger dog is off doing his own thing, which usually is a precursor to him getting in trouble, and he won't come when we call, I'll just start talking to my older dog and giving him a ton of praise. The younger one magically appears. There are a lot of comments on this, so I didn't read them all, and sorry if someone already said this. So I've had a lot of self-esteem issues, and I read a book where the author said that maintaining eye contact gives the illusion that you are confident. So I started to practice that. Now I'm confident, and keeping an eye contact is easy. But when I started I was surprised how many times people told me you seem more confident. For those for whom eye contact is hard, you can fake it by looking at the spot between the other person's eyes. Using awkward silences to get what you want. Ask somebody for something. If they give you a reason not to give it to you, say nothing. Stand there, and more often than not they'll give in and give it to you. Staying quiet and being comfortable with uncomfortable pauses will take you far. Ryan Gosling's character in Drive. Half the reason he's so cool. Here's a trick that works with my primary school class at school. Whoever does the best job at listening and following directions today will get to be the table cleaner at the end of the day. Means that now cleaning is a reward, and everyone wants to do it. When my kids were younger, under 10, I would say I need a helper, instead of come set the table for dinner or some other chore. Every kid wants to be a helper, but none want to be assigned a chore. Now they are teenagers and this doesn't work. Tell your kids that chores will be done after your nap and they will let you hibernate through the winter without any distractions. Facts. You guys can have electronics time while I sleep. The best naps. I got myself to stop biting my nails by wearing a rubber band on my wrist and snapping it every time I caught myself doing it. After about 1 to 2 weeks I completely stopped and haven't bit them in over 10 years. Could probably work for other minor bad habits. You gave yourself aversion therapy. It's an actual technique and can be used to curb bad habits or thoughts. I think I might try this on order to stop thinking about my ex. As a front desk worker in a clinic, I handle the vast majority of patients and client interactions. The patient may have to inform about his or her medical background, or else the administration would not file your records. In the past I had uttered, "Take a look and make necessary changes." They would put up a brick wall against that or just moan about it. Now when I say, "It might sound. Here are the instructions. All you have to do is to make the changes." Shouting it in this particular manner makes one think less of it, and the respondents take the clipboard without a grunt. That was just a little. Asking them to double check for any mistakes that might have happened works pretty well too. When someone does something you like, reward them, much in the sense of good boy for a dog. So if they say something new like "I like how you said that," or "That's a good question," it's really just positive reinforcement. But it works really well, especially in the workplace. For instance, "I really like the way you write that report," or "Thank you so much for noticing that." I admire that you're able to do that and it's helpful. People often forget to just compliment people, and when you learn to give people meaningful compliments you'd be surprised how much easier life will go socially and professionally. Another one I'll say is, a few weeks into a new job, bring donuts or cookies or something. It's a good gesture that will help get people to like you, especially if you got off on a wrong foot. The Goldilocks effect works wonders. Say you want to convince a person to do a certain task, but you know they are not going to do it unless persuaded. Try this. Offer them a total of 3 tasks, one being your task and the 2 others slightly more complicated or mundane longer tasks. The trick here is not to be too obvious that the other 2 are duds. Start with dud task 1 and make it the more mundane dull one. Then your task, which sounds slightly better. Then task 3, which is more complex and demanding of skill and ability. 9 times out of 10 they pick the task you want them to pick. And if not, you still got them doing something you needed done in the long run. Who can think that far ahead? I got 2 brain cells. Sorry buddy, I think you'll be the one getting Goldilocksed. Mirroring body language. This works super well when meeting someone for the first time, as it subconsciously puts the other person at ease. I sometimes do this, but what I'm really guilty of is noticing that someone is mirroring me and then changing positions to see how often I can get them to do it too. Lol, this only works if they are doing it subconsciously. I worked at an insurance agency where a lot of customers were crabby or rude. I've rented in the area for a decade, so I've gotten familiar with all of the parks in town. I'd look at their address and say, oh, you live right by Kingston Park. I walk my dog there all the time. Their attitudes did a 180. They didn't want to be jerks to somebody they might encounter in real life. At work, when I want a particular outcome from a boss, I don't ask them if I can do a thing. I state that I'm doing a thing and give a reasonable reason why, and then ask them to let me know if they have any objections. I now get to do far more of what I want than before. This is good managing up advice. If you come to your boss with a problem and a proposed solution, they don't have to do the work of coming up with a solution. Yep, make it as easy as possible for them, which also makes it easier for me. It's something I try to mentor those that work under me to do, too. If you want someone to like you, ask them for their opinion or help in something you know they are good at. People like to feel important and needed, so you fill a need by asking, so they automatically view you positively. It also opens them up. Even many shy people will open up if it is something they enjoy or are talented at. You meet some great people this way. Bonus. You can see how they treat people while in a position of authority, which will help you decide if you want to continue to build a relationship. Seeming to agree with someone's irrational complaints about coworkers or management or the workplace without actually agreeing with them. Expressions like I hear ya, comma, seriously, exclamation mark, comma, and wow, that's unbelievable, work really well. Especially if they've already got a reputation as the office crank and are generally disliked by everyone else. Once they think I'm on their side, they're more than happy to do the occasional favor for me, like fast tracking some approval process or whatever. Then, as this person and I have more interaction at work, I slowly start dropping tactically chosen factoids into conversations. These lead them back to a reality where they begin to see that what they complain about all the time isn't quite as bad as they think it is. Basically, I provide them with an illusion that they are coming to these conclusions on their own and not being told to change their opinion. If I do things right, within a few months people start engaging with them again. Within a year, they find they have workplace friends for the first time ever and become a generally more pleasant person to be around. Out of sight, out of mind, which is why I have several caches at work and at home of snacks I have hid from myself. My sister kept staring at me, which she knew annoyed me. She would always look away before I could catch her doing it, so I faked a yawn. No noise, just the mouth movements. She let out a loud yawn moments later. Knew she was looking at me. Dang you. I just yawned. Pause is what we use as therapists to get people to talk who are otherwise hesitant. O. Open-ended questions. A. Affirming what they feel. R. Reflecting what's been said. S. Summarize what's been said. This works when I'm trying to get my kids to open up to me as well. Bro, you actually watched the whole video. I'd give you a high five if I was a human. Make sure to click the like button and subscribe for more great content. See you next time.